That's weird.
Yo, all right. I wasn't late. My computer clock's wrong by 1 minute. 1 minute. All right, calm down.
Oh, it is, huh?
I didn't realize that.
No, that's weird.
And the camera's off by like the top of my head. I'm looking scruffy today. Super scruffy. All right. Is the microphone's working? Everything's working? Confirm? Everything's working? I guess we don't have Instagram tonight because I'm not going back and dealing with that. Sorry.
It was there.
Yeah.
When I started.
All right. Okay, we're here. All right, so it's going to be a little kind of like the last one, a little bit different. This one is going to be just, I had a couple customers that sent me in some files, and they did some pretty decent work. And, I kind of wanted to go over like a couple things that they could have done better. Being self-tuned, I was pretty impressed with both of them. They obviously are running and handling fine. And then we're going to talk about when you put a blower on a truck, how to not kill your customers. So we'll get into that one. That's going to be towards the end of this. And we're going to make this live quick because we're not supposed to be doing this. We're supposed to be here next week. But anyways, we'll go ahead and get into it. I don't want to waste a bunch of time on that. Let me get everything pulled up.
I thought I came down here to something else.
What?
I don't remember. I left my phone here, but I got it.
That'll work. All right. So, and if for some reason you have something and you're here and you're tuned in and you want to see, us go through it, if it's got something teachable, throw it in here. All right. So let's go. First thing first. Let me get it all organized. Let me get it all pulled up real quick. So first one we're going to go is a 2020 twin turbo Camaro. So we're going to do as we did on the last one, I'm going to go through the mods with you guys because somebody suggested that we do that. So I want to make sure that I do that. We're going to go through the mods, what's done to it. And then we'll go over the file. I'll tell you the things that I found that I think could have been better, and go over a couple key points on it as well. Give me a second. It's pulling up. I'm going to put a stock file as a compare. That way we know, the green means that it's been changed. All right. Man, let me get his log pulled up because he sent me a couple logs. So I want to make sure I get the right stuff here. I was not as organized for this one, but you get what you get. And you don't throw a fit. That's what I tell the kids at least. All right. So here we go. Let me move it to the screen. Coming to the stage. Here we go. So that's the log. All right, let's run through this. I have everything here. Everything's a little delayed today for some reason. Come on. Here we go. All right. So 2020 twin turbo Camaro with a BTR cam, Texas speed drop-in rods and pistons, L8T crank. 2i PSI port injection, auxiliary pump, circle D converter, Suncoast stage 2 transmission build. These are a couple things that I had noticed. And again, none of this is like really bad. So the guy did a pretty good job dialing this in himself. He did say that he had used a couple of the tuning schools. I think Elite Tune was one of them, or Evans Performance Academy was one of them. So we'll go over this. And this is a couple things. So basically he's got some lean spots. This is his timing stuff, which we're going to discuss this because it's something that I'd rather show you before it becomes a hard lesson. And then his shifts were a little soft, but I think there was he had done some scaling. We're going to go over that. Overall, for the particular setup, it's really close. So remember, this is a guy that is tuning this car himself. So yeah, you expect a couple things a little odd, but overall, not bad. One thing, when you see like the numbers off right here, that's usually they come out of something else. Not a good sign, but not a big deal. It's pretty much the same thing. And the only reason you would see that it's different is because I add the decimals just to find the differences. Let me go to, I think the best way would be to go through the log. Let's go through the log. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think of the best way to go through this. So here's our log. So this is a wide open pull, right? So you can see right here, we're on a two-step. You can see the fueling cutting. We're sitting at 3,600 RPM, 9 pounds of boost. Right here, you can see kind of a little lean spike, but usually when you're on two-step, that's kind of a normal thing. But when he takes off, this is one thing that I think is something that needs to be addressed decently quickly. Right here, you see we're 0.92, which I think I had that. Yeah, which is 13.5 air fuel. Let's go right here. So we're 13.5. And I thought maybe it was like a delay of the wideband because you see how it's kind of blocky. But if you see there's another lean dip right here, and you can look down here, and then you can also verify it by coming in here and seeing that the narrows. This is something really good to learn. So you can trust your wideband. I get that. It's no problem. But as long as you have OE Denso O2s, right? Like OE, like that's what come with it, not Bosch. You can pretty much take it to the bank that they're accurate. And so you'll see it's right around here, 860, 840, leaner than we'd like, but acceptable for what he's doing. And then you see it dips here, and then you see the dip here. So we're matching. That's some things that need to be addressed. Then we see this really bad dip here. So that's something I want to kind of touch on a little more. Let me resize this. All right. So if you remember from our talk last week, we're always looking for a tight V. We don't want a U. We don't want this shit. We want a tight V. So if you look at the shift here, you see the timing comes out right here. Let's put it in our transmission view. All right, so here's our pressures, right? So this one, it dropped the clutch. Boom, this clutch is coming. You see our timing starts coming out. But right here, it went up, but we still are seeing translip. See the translip right here? That's this red right here. So we still have some translip, Now keep in mind, just because it sees translip, it could be low fluid, right? It could be low trans fluid. 10 speeds are known for that. I know Tim does some modifications to the transmissions to fix that or correct that issue. The other thing, it could be traction. So if we put it in here, he wasn't logging rear wheel speed. Typically, I'll have front versus rear, but you can even see here, see how we're kind of moving around. So a little bit of that shifting could be due to that. But anyways, so he's got it, it's pulling like -3, so it's definitely trying. And then you see the RPM kind of softens back in. But once he gets going, it tightens up a lot better. So we got a, kind of a V here. But do you notice on every shift, we're cutting fuel? The only issue that you really have, and you've got to keep in mind, is when you have a port-injected vehicle, right? If it's cutting fuel there, make sure that your port injection system is cutting fuel on its side as well. If it isn't, you can run into a head gasket issue or something like that. So this right here is actually a setting in the trans, which it cuts the fuel of the vehicle on the shift. It's called shift intervention. So you can adjust that. That's adjustable. You can see the converter came in here. And when the converter came in, you see the TCC slip dropping right off. So everything kind of working how it's supposed to. Car's doing good. See, we got a little bit of a tighter shift. So we got a little less of a U, but we still got that lean spike here, which is there. And you can see when people say, oh, the narrows aren't that accurate, right? That narrow picked up that lean spike faster than that wideband did. So, people are like, oh, well, the wideband's the end all be all, but it's not. Because if you aren't smart enough to know to look for this and to look for this, and, that's two different areas, right? So this is at the shift. This is after the shift. This is clearly delayed. Just little tidbits to think of. Other than that, the fuel kind of gathers back up. A little soft here on the shift, but it goes through, nothing real crazy. The car is probably making pretty decent power. His torque is actually pretty accurate based on what I'm seeing here. And then I think he blows the charge pipe off right here. Yeah, so the boost goes 14 out. So anyways, overall, we've got a couple lean spikes. Now, this one right here, let's see if we can find out why. So we'll go into our dynamic. We're not logging enough. Yeah, we are. Here we are. Hold on. Let me rescale. Let's see. This should be enough. All right. Yeah, now the problem is, so see, this stops reading here, this stops reading here. Dynamic's way up there. So unfortunately, we can't really see that. I was trying. Anyways, overall, all this could be corrected. Something that we did notice down here, he's kind of made his own little two-step here. See the -2, and he's not moving. That's actually in his tune file, which I've done this before on Wendy's car. Let's go here, right here. Pretty cool. I can respect it. All right, so outside of that, let's go through the couple things that I saw that are more of like an issue, I guess you'd say. And I don't even want to say issue because I think he did a pretty good job here. Because, you know, we got a different engine size. He did a different engine size. We've got, you know, everything's pretty decently scaled. Now, the resolution of this math is something I always try to tell people to make sure that you do rescale. He didn't, and I don't think the courses teach you that. You'd be surprised how much better the vehicle will drive if you just rescale it, because your math curve ends up looking like this. And again, keep in mind, this is a guy that's tuning it himself. So it's obviously a work in progress. He's kind of going through it, right? And I'm sure he's trying to match the fueling and the port and everything to work. But you see how the dots are really close together here, and then they start spacing out here. What I typically would do, I'll go in and usually 0 to 15, and boom, straight line it. And that way you actually get even spacing, and then you can really, really dial this in and really smooth it out, because in the wide open area, you lose a lot of resolution, where down here, you've got a lot more resolution than you actually need. And keep in mind, that's for GM. They just did that factory. Let me undo that just so we don't mess something up. But yeah, you see how this line is, right? And then all I did was you just take this, go all the way to the other side, and give it an interpolate, and we straight line it. Easy. Then you read all your math. Now you can use actually like JWT or Gemini or something, and they can make you an Excel spreadsheet. Or if you're just super smart, you can make your own Excel spreadsheet to kind of pull this, compare it, and have it repopulate it. Anyways, yeah, props. It says props to tuning his own car, especially a twin turbo 6th gen. That's pretty good. I think let me go through. So we went over the lean spot. This is something else. So right here, there's a flex fuel multiplier. If you look, this top is your alcohol composition. So 0, 10, 20, 50, 80, right? So your real benefits going to E85, in my opinion, start around E40, right? So I usually don't like to add any timing until, you know, around 50, and then from there, 50 to 60 is decent, you know, but 50 to 75 is pretty significant. Again, my opinion. Right here, you can see that he's given 70% of the timing on E20. That's his deal. He's definitely soft on the timing, so it's not the end of the world. He does have real low timing in here for the most part, but just so you understand what that would do, I don't think there's anything in here. So we do 0.7. Copy. So that means this right here. Oh, Jesus. Come on, get it together, bro. That means this is the timing that you would see, right, on E20. In my opinion, that's a little spicy down low. He did rescale this axis, which one of my first member videos that I started uploading already is how to rescale this and why you would rescale this. What I did like is that he rescaled it. What I didn't think that he was accounting for is right now he's at 16 pounds of boost, 17, right? 17. And you notice that his timing is pretty close to the same. And that's because he's running 2.4 grams. He only scaled at 2.3. My opinion, what I would do is you always want to predict, right? So like say a wastegate line comes off, okay? And this is big on turbo cars because this happens a lot. If you don't rescale this, when that wastegate line comes off, this is the timing you're getting. Doesn't matter. This is happening. So what you do, again, what I do is I would probably do something like 4, right? Oh, wrong spot. Let's go You know what? Yeah, because we're already close to 3, right? So let's go to 4. And then, you can kind of blend this here. And then you would take this timing that you had here, put it around your 2-3 area, come here and probably pull 9 degrees maybe, and then blend it down. And you're not going in this area, but say something happens and you melt a wastegate line or you melt something, that boost starts going in crazy, you have something to save your ass, right? So you want to make sure that you have some kind of cushion in there. And again, I don't really think that maybe he didn't expect to add 70% of his timing with this table, but keep in mind that is what would happen. And then as he goes from 20 to 50, that 70 goes to 85%. So it's the little things, right? So that's what he sent this in for. I wanted to kind of go over that. Now, the shifts being soft, his torque is correct. His trans tune, there's some things that he could definitely fix that would fix it. I'm trying to think of the best way to say this without being biased, right? So what I was noticing, here's our shift time, right? So here's our driver demand. Typically, this stops at 443. And in a supercharged variants, this is going to be like 580, 590, something like that. And then it goes, just like that other table, this is the bottom of the line. I've actually never seen anybody scale this up to 900, but basically, I don't know that math is really going to work correctly, right? I would just have put this back to how it was, and I'd be curious if that's part of his issue. Outside of that, he's got enough pressure in there. He's got it up here. He was doing the right things, but that's something I think would be a fix. Another issue that I had seen was this. We've already talked about this. And again, in the early days of the 10-speed swap, and when we didn't have all the 10-speed tables, we had to do this. I mean, I had to do this on certain cars, and I hated it because I know that this is wrong, but, I made sure everything else was right, so it didn't need to pull the timing. This is something I would definitely revert back, and that way, it'll keep the trans living in the long term. So this is where we were at. Again, we've talked about this on the other lives, but I just want to go over that again. The trans needs to be able to pull the timing out, and you saw it was, but it wasn't able to pull enough. This to pull the timing out so it can kind of get the clutches together and get them happy and not drag the clutches, because that's how you kill transmissions. And maybe he saw that in one of the courses. I'm not sure. I don't think he's in here. I did send him an email to let him know we'd be going through it, but I didn't get a reply back. All right, so something else. So back in the day, I borrowed a buddy's Trans Am, good friend Mike Seether, and he let me take it out. I took it out to the pad. I went to go make a hit. This is early days of me tuning, and the coolant temp sensor was broken. So what did we do? We were broke kids back then. We just kind of glued the coolant temp sensor back on and thought all was well, right? What happened was, this is like a stock LS1. The coolant sensor connector came off. When a sensor disconnects on GM, it reads typically -40, right? So go to our coolant temp modifier, because this is what's going to modify it based on coolant temp. And in our -4 column, we have 10 degrees of timing. So if for some reason, and again, maybe it won't happen, right? But maybe it will. And it's just easier, in my opinion, even if you don't want to zero all this out, at least go here and zero this out. Because if your coolant temp sensor comes disconnected, by all means, at least you're not adding 10 degrees of time into your fucking car. That also goes for your IAT. And a lot of people use this for nitrous. There is a delay, keep that in mind. But if you disconnect your IAT, or he loses his IAT because his charge pipe blew off and it ripped the connector loose and he was still kind of in it a little bit, it's going to add 5 degrees of timing. So again, save yourself the hassle. Just don't have it happen. This would be your best way to avoid that. So I just thought that was good little things to kind of touch on. Minimum spark, we did that. Okay, here's one more thing real quick, and then we're pretty much close on this one. The fuel pressure thing doesn't really log that well on the 2020 Camaros for some reason. I think the PID's got a problem. But we're going to go in this way. Remember, this is a port injection car, right? So once you're in boost, you want this thing in power enrichment. You also need the same amount of fuel pressure down low as you do, through the run. So like if you're commanding 75, you want 75 when that boost comes in. So that's what we're gonna touch on here. Fuel pressure requested. So see that right there, fuel pressure requested. But notice right here, we are making 9.5 pounds, 9.57 pounds of boost. But look at how lean we are. See how we're fighting that lean? So we don't have our fuel pressure coming in yet. So what you would do is you need to log your instantaneous, which is 375 and 3600. I'm just going to tell you how to do this. So if you haven't done it, fix it. Fuel system right here, high flow upper. So right here, we're at 507 and then 32. So you're like, oh, well, zero's here. And he did move it. So look, he did do that. But what I would do is go back to where you see that 375. Where's the instantaneous again? Sorry. Right here. So you're seeing the 3 right here. So I would just go in here, do like 0.8. And go again. All right. So we know we're going to hit it here. And then so you don't have the pump constantly running, you'll put this here as well and give it a 0.9 so it has a hysteresis. And this will go high and low, right? This is how you would fix that. It's a much better option. And then, yeah, that was really it. So not a big issue. The guy did really good, I think. He's definitely been watching the videos. His torque model makes sense. One thing I didn't really care for is the virtual volumetric efficiency table. So let me pull it up right here. See how we have this big cliff here? That will tend to become a drivability problem. And maybe he doesn't have that problem yet, or he doesn't notice it yet. But when you're tuning, customers are going to notice that because your graph ends up looking like this. Now, I think most of his issue was probably because this has to be rescaled, your zones. So see how all this is one zone? And this is the problem with virtual volumetric efficiency, right? Is you have to adjust these zones so it scales properly or you get big chunks. So like all of this is going to be on the same plane. Let me put it this way. So let's see, all of this is zone 29. And that's why when you look at it this way, you see how I kind of just flexed it all one block? So you'll actually go, I'm not going to tell you how to do it because I think it's still, I don't know that my way is 100% the correct way. So, but you'll go in here with your RPM zone boundaries and you can adjust here and you can adjust your P ratio boundaries here and you'll build this out. So remember that this is not a boosted car factory. This was an SS. So this is going to be a lot different. Let me see if I can pull up ZL1. Un momento, por favor. All right. Oh, back. Okay, here we go. So right here, again, this is pressure ratio. Keep in mind. So like in a car, 0.8 pressure ratio from 0.3. This is a pretty good range. And if you notice, the boosted car is 0.5 to 1.3, right? 1.3 pressure ratio. So this is a little further. Now you could put this in there, right? Let's do that. Let's do the pressure ratio and let's do the RPM boundary. Now remember, this is totally going to fuck your table. So you're going to have to go back and fix this. And if you have DOD and you're tuning for DOD, you can do that too. We'll go ahead and do it anyways. And then you'll pull your table back up. Come back over here. All right. Now our table looks crazy, but you see how we have a little more? We're not like one giant chunk here. See how we have steps and we have some more steps here. You can refine this and you can make this to where if you're watching those like TikTok videos or like where they like drop the sheet with like 4 squares and then like 16 squares and then 32 and it keeps getting smoother. Okay. So if you think of that aspect, you can do that here. It does take some time. but it is worth it because you remember that every throttle transition follows this. So you want to make sure this is right. So that was the last thing I wanted to touch on for that one. The next one we'll get into, we're going to do a customer truck one, but I've got an honorable mention that I'm going to go through. So I got a call last night or an email yesterday. A guy, I don't want to say his name. Basically, he's like, hey, man, I got a truck. You know who it's tuned by. And I've almost wrecked it going to work. I can't even drive the thing. All I did was put a blower. It's a bone stock truck. Okay. So we'll go through the file. Remember, this is a bone stock pickup truck. Now, I do hear this a lot. So keep in mind, even though, you know, this tuner constantly does this shit. Sorry, I was looking at the comments. Thank you, Horsepower. Appreciate that, man. Anyways, just because this tuner is a constant fuck up is not the only issue, but I want you to learn how to spot it. And then I've talked a little bit on these adders and a lot of people, how they add the timing just in here and they don't use the modifier, right? We've talked about that, or I've talked about that on some. If you haven't seen that, you need to go back to the other video. But I'll have a member video on these modifiers. And a lot of people are like, well, dude, if it's in boost, it's going to be in power enrichment every time. Here's an instance where that doesn't happen. And here's an instance of why these matter. So let me go pull all that up real quick. Okay, so, all right, here's the truck. And then I had asked him for his stock file, just because I thought I had a stock match, but it was a little off. All right, now, remember what's done to this truck. This truck is a bone stock 2016 5.3 Sierra, no cam, no nothing. I don't even know if it has headers, but it has an E4 supercharger on it. Something to keep in mind, until the Escalade V, trucks never came with a blower. Okay, so they do have an issue. It can be corrected. I'll show you it with the issue. I did send the guy 2 or 3 revisions to at least fix this issue, just so we could, he could drive this thing to work until he, can book a tune, and so he doesn't wreck his truck. And then, I just want to let me show you, and then I'll give you 2 other options. So, first thing first. Kind of looking through it, I asked him, I'm like, man, how many revisions did you guys do on this? And he's like, well, this month, 14. He's been fighting the throttle. So let me pull the log up and let me show you what we're seeing. Now, I asked him, I said, did you ask him about this, this throttle? Did you what did he tell you? Did he say this okay? He's like, oh, he said the log looks great and that's normal. Where I'll try to argue, the trucks do like to open the throttle early, and it kind of makes them feel a little more spirited. That becomes a problem when you have a bypass valve and a supercharger. So let's go. This is the first log that he sends me because I was, just so he can show me where the issue's at. Let me go through. All right. So this is D-cell coming down. Actually, now he's in it a little bit. Okay, so the purple here is the throttle pedal. So look, we're 18, and the green is throttle percent, which is the blade. So purple is your foot, green is the blade. And so usually you want the green a little above the purple, right? You kind of want that spirited feel. But right here, you'll see that we're 22% in the throttle. And remember, it idles at probably, I don't know, it idles at about 5. So right here, he's about 22. So he's like maybe quarter throttle. And look at the blade. The blade's at 53. Okay. Now, mind you, we're on pump gas, LT1 fueling. We're at 6.8 pounds of boost. It did not trigger power enrichment. Why didn't it trigger power enrichment? Because the blade says 20. The blade says 53, but the pedal says 22. And the table's here, power enrichment, enable pedal, 22 is not high enough, right? So we would have to be at 2,000 RPM. We would have to be at 40.9% pedal, which if at 23%, we're at 50%. And, 14 pounds of boost or 8 pounds of boost, what would it be if you go a little further? So this is, you see it kind of come up. Let me move some of this stuff off of here so it's a little easier. I don't know if I should have made like an easier discernible table for you guys or not. Let's go remove this one and remove that one. Okay. This might make it a little easier. All right, so you see the pedal's pretty flat, right? This is kind of coming up. We're making boost. He's holding the pedal flat. Now look at the timing. It's pulling 5 degrees. Why is it pulling 5 degrees? Because the trans is trying to shift. Timing locked at 5. Clutches start to bind. And then you get this whole U thing here where the trans is trying to figure out what to do. The whole time this is going on, we're 20% throttle, 50% throttle blade, -3 degrees of timing, 12 pounds of boost. So the cylinder pressure and the exhaust heat of this motor is probably through the freaking roof. Air fuel ratio 14.7 because he has an AFR right here. So had he done the power enrichment table, I don't know that it would have really saved it, but at least the timing that you have here, the 16 degrees, wouldn't be 16 degrees if you added it from one table into the power enrichment. So it didn't go in power enrichment, it doesn't add that timing. There are situations outside of this that happens. So we'll see, he drives it again. This is something to look for. If you put a blower on your truck or a customer's truck or something like that, look for this, right? You see this right here, the pedal's still 29%. We got 60% throttle, 11 pounds of boost. We have yet to go into power enrichment. And we're still 14.5 air fuel. So you can kind of get the problem here. And you see all these like long U's. This is just the trans fighting it, and the guy just fighting it, trying to just drive this damn thing. But this is correctable. So we'll go through right here. So this right here is your driver demand. This is basically how much torque do you want at what throttle percentage, right? So this is the stock table. And again, putting the stock table in there is not the correct answer, but it's definitely a good start, right? Because if right here, it's telling you, let's go right here. Your driver demand is asking for 16, predicted this, your actual is 26. Like, it's obviously way overshooting, right? We obviously have a problem. So what does he do? Like, let's triple it. Not really sure what the thought process was there, but you can see that that's where the problem's at, right? This is definitely an issue. And then they're all pretty much that high. But when you do your timing table, let's see where we were. So we're accurate on here. Let's say coming in a boost. So we're 18 degrees of timing, 2300, 544. So right around here, 18 degrees, right? So had you done like, let's just say -6, right? Let's just do it that way. Let it down and then go over to your gas table and let's add our 6 here. Now this little simple thing that you did right here, what this would have prevented is that timing down there. So let's go back to where we would be, 54. See, we'd have like 12 or 13 degrees. And again, I understand that like 18, 19 degrees with no fueling is going to blow up either way. The truck did not blow up yet. Thank God the customer reached out. But you could have had this with less timing and a little safer. It's just the little things that do matter, and that's why we use these extra tables, and that's why I tell people when you're doing this, please use your modifiers. GM uses them for a reason. And then for the love of God, as the boost comes in, your timing should come down. Do not make it all one number. If you're making it one number, there's no way you can convince me that you did that on accident, or that was efficient, because it's just not. But you can see here's our issue. Remember that 5 we kept seeing? There it is. And this is in every one of his tunes. So if you've been following us, you know who this is. Well, we have no modifiers, no modification work at all. And I was like, man, why is it not knocking? Where was it? Because he's got it doubled. Remember, everybody has their thing, right? But this is factory at a 0.055. So this is how fast, once it sees the knock, how fast it puts the timing back in. So by the time this thing would have knocked, didn't really matter. It's going to put it back in. But honestly, I don't think it had enough fuel to knock because it was just so fucking lean. All right. Another thing, if you have a stock cam, and I've had people argue with me on this, but like, I'm going to stand firm on this. And if I'm wrong, please come tell me how I'm wrong, because I want to know if you're changing, you don't change the cam and you put a blower on it at idle, I don't feel like the airflow changes that much. I know people are like, well, it's got a blower. Up high, absolutely. Yeah, you're definitely going to change your torque model once you start driving. But at idle, I don't think so. And I asked the guy, like, how bad is the idle? And it's pretty bad, he said. He's like, it surges, and this is a stock cam truck. This right here, when you see this change like that, see what we're saying? Like, we're not touching any of the area that actually has the issue, right? We're only touching this idle area, and we're dropping it down. And then a good indicator is when you see it here, and then you see it here. And then you go over here and check, and we're on a virtual flex. Again, don't tune a blower vehicle with virtual flex. I'll get back to that one. If you see it only change there and only change here, you can bet your ass that what they did was they were like, I don't want to go through that torque model. Let me just go in here and put 0.9. And I know there's some places that teach that. So again, my opinion, if you don't like it, that's okay. You can tell me how I'm wrong. I'm good with that too. But this is not the way to do it. If you really did need to drop that idle, you would go in here to your virtual torque. Now watch what he did. See, he did change these, right? Oh wait, wrong screen. All right. So you see the changes are here. You see this chunk missing, right? But let me explain why I think moving just that one spot is a problem. And again, if I'm wrong, feel free to just say something. Call me out. If you're a tuner, let me know if I'm wrong on this. I'm okay with that. I don't mind being wrong on here. I want to know why. So what they're essentially doing is they want to alter this section, right? And let's say we just wanted to do the idle. So we'll just go, it's usually about right here, and it doesn't really matter. Let's pull 75 foot-pounds out of it, right? And then you can interpolate it down, interpolate it up, do what you want to do. All right, so you see I only touch these 3 rows. Extrapolate. Now we've populated 3 tables instead of 1. You get what I'm saying? So this is all coefficient based. So if you're going to mess with the virtual torque, I know it's daunting. And if you look, if you weren't watching, what I did, and I think this is the best way, is to bring it out to like a realistic number that would be full boost. And then I do 50. I think I learned this from Evans Performance Academy. But I do this, and that way I've got a bigger table. I've got a broader table, and I kind of see what's going on. Hint, hint. Anyways, and this right here is basically our engine torque. So it's like, hey, this is what we need. We've got some humps here. Okay, see what I'm getting at? So if doing it correctly was to do here, it would make sense. It doesn't. Anyways, don't do it half-ass. This was like a trick back in the day that people would do. This is the torque coefficient modifier. They used to do this in like Gen 4. Gen 5, you really don't want to do that. You're going to cause yourself a lot more headache than it's worth. Just trust me on that one. Outside of that, let's see. Since we're in this one, there wasn't really a lot done. Because remember, this is a stock truck. So, yeah. I don't think there's really much else done at all, really. Okay. You got the point, right? Cool. Another one I'll show you. This is another log from another truck. And this is where I'm going to get into ways to correct this. Okay. Yes, you can fix that in the tune. Actually, let me show you real quick. I made 3 revisions total to this truck just to kind of get the guy going. I think this is the last one we did. All right. Now watch, just like we went through, we have, and this isn't perfect. Okay. I literally only changed like 3 tables. We'll handle this later. But I didn't want the guy, you know, driving it and it blowing it up. So right here, you'll see the green, you see the purple. So remember that the green is your throttle, the purple is your foot, the green is your throttle blade. So we've actually got the purple over the green. So we got a little too much here and it needs some fuel. See this right here? But as you notice, you see how the boost is coming in nice and smooth. You see the purple and the green lining up. What else do you notice? The fuel coming in, right? See how everything's kind of transitioning? That's what you want. Now, a lot of people will tell you that the only way you can make this happen is if you go out and you spend $1,000 on a smooth boost electric bypass valve, because there's no way to make the stock bypass valve work on a pickup truck. Obviously, that's not true. I like smooth boost. I run their stuff on my car. I run on a lot of customers' cars. I think the bypass is an easy fix for a tuner that isn't capable of doing this. And I'm going to show you a log with smooth boost so you see what it's doing. But if you remember the log before this, it would literally just, the blade would flop open and the boost would be up there and we wouldn't go into power enrichment. Power enrichment being right here. You see how it's coming down. You see the fuel coming in as the boost comes in, right? We're 51% pedal, we're 57% throttle. This is all making sense. We're still way too fucking lean. And I alerted him to that. I was like, you can drive it, but this needs to be corrected. The tune needs to be finished. I just didn't want him running into the car next to him trying to get to work. Anyways, so you can do the smooth boost. That will help, right? Because it makes the bypass valve go off of the throttle pedal. Or you can add a supercharger inlet air pressure sensor, which if you just type in HP Tuner SciAp install or SciAp boost control on like the HP Tuner forum, there's pages on it. So basically you have a baro sensor, which is your atmospheric pressure. In the charge pipe, it's in the mass air. Then you have a map sensor that's inside the pressure part of the blower, where after the rotors. And then on the supercharged vehicles, they have a sensor that's right behind the throttle blade between the throttle plate and the blower rotors. And that allows it to know, you know, as the throttle's moving, the transition of the airflow and the torque model kind of goes off of that. You can add that to the trucks, and I have done that, and that does work. You can also get them pretty damn good without that, but smooth boost is your other option. Let me go to the other one I'm going to show you. This one. So this right here. Remember, purple is our pedal, green is our actual throttle plate. So you see how the boost is coming up on this one? And now I think the customer had kind of messed with this one a little bit to get it to not blow up from the guy tuning this. We all know who that is. But you see how the boost is coming in, even though the throttle just whacked open. So we're like 49% pedal, right? We're only half throttle, and throttle blade's 100% right here. Boom, all the way through. Luckily, it's got a smooth boost, so the boost is coming in smooth boost. The power enrichment came in early right here because they had already set it, you know, to kind of do that. The customer did to fix that because it wasn't. Anyway, so you can see the problem. The other issue is you can see right here, we've got a shift coming up. Boom, 5. Go to our trans. What's happening with our trans? So it's going to make the shift. We've got trans slip right here. And right here, the shift completes, but the trans is still slipping. And instead of just pulling the power and letting it make that shift, it just binds through it. Okay, and then we finally make a shift. Then we keep going. Now the problem is, again, we're still only 66% throttle, but it thinks it's full throttle here. Kind of rolling through. The truck gets a little herky-jerky. Let's say that. You can see that again here. So we're trying to get it in here, but it can't get the timing out to get the shift. So it's doing that. We've got a lot of bindage here. Another one here, another one here. So when I say the type V, I actually had a customer that I was remote tuning send me a login, and I was like, oh man, this is perfect. I'll throw this in there as well. And we're still going to get to that other customer review. I know this isn't supposed to be a long one, but a lot of information. And basically just take this for what it is, look through your logs. If I tuned it and you see some of these issues, call me, let me know. We'll make it right, no problem. It doesn't hurt my feelings. If I make a mistake, I'm human. I want to make it right. But if you see this, you know, you don't have to call your tuner an idiot. You can call them and say, hey man, I saw this. I'd like this, you know, to be corrected. And if they reach out to us, I have had a lot of tuners reach out to us since the tune review before, and I've helped them. I don't mind. I want everybody to do good here. But we see this U here. Now let me show you, because I keep bringing up this type V, but I haven't shown you a type V. So let me show you a type V. Boom. All right, so this is just an NA Camaro, 10-speed car, nothing aggressive. See how we're kind of going here? He didn't log enough channels. I asked him to send me another log with the channels, but he hadn't gotten it to me yet. But see how we're going, and look at the shift here. Now you see we do pull timing. Let's see. We pulled 9 degrees negative right there. Okay. So, but did that hurt the shift? I mean, look at the sharp boom, boom. There's no bindage, and you would see it. So that's the other thing is you can kind of look in. It's hard to show you on that truck because the log isn't, it's a lot harder on that truck than it would be with this, but you can kind of go through here, right? Let's just expand it. And you can see as you're going that it's pulling, and we got a sharp shift. So we know, boom, that was a good clean shift. Look, we even got a little bit of wheel speed right here. Yep, it's all showing. Okay. Boom to the next gear. Tight V. Quick shift. A little bit of wheel speed. And now these shifts may be a little aggressive, you know, but again, we're trying to keep this thing alive and happy and living a long time. Another one right here. Boom, a little bit of wheel speed. We're doing 138, and we're still scratching the tires on a car that's making, I don't know, 500 something horsepower. I think that's kind of crazy. This is a pump gas in a car scratching the tires at 138. But now you see this shift, he kind of like boop on the pedal a little bit. But we come down, we still drop to 10.5. But it's a decently tight V. I expanded it. Don't judge me. But see, this is what I'm talking about. When I say tight V, your shift should look like this. If I tuned it, if somebody tuned it, doesn't matter. If it was tuned, it should look like that when it shifts. If it's 6, 8, 10 speed. If it doesn't, something needs to be addressed. Again, if we tune you and you have a 6-speed auto or an 8-speed, they do it too. After so long, these transmissions want to naturally soften up. So sometimes, especially on a 6-speed like a V2, you'll see on the 3-4 shift, you'll see it double dip the timing, right? And that's a straight indicator that it's a torque management issue. And you can disable the adapts, but I try to leave them on just to kind of keep everything happy. But when you see that double dip, it's time to do a reset. And if you're part of our membership program, I have a whole walkthrough of how to do the reset and how to quick adapt it in our membership side. So if you're not a member, be a member, support us. We're giving you information that I can guarantee you there's no tuner out there that's giving you this much information. And if there is, let me know so I can follow them too. Let's see. Is there a way to tune a Gen 4 truck to have an LSA blower and have it not pull boost at highway speeds with slight hills without smooth boost? Yeah, that's what I was showing you on that other log. Every time I look at this, feels like I'm at math class. I don't understand anything. I feel dumb. Look, ask questions. That's what we're here for. Don't be dumb. You're not dumb. Like, this is not as complicated as it looks. I know it does look complicated, but you got to remember, this is how I'm looking at it. When you send me a log, this is all the stuff I'm going through because I'm trying to find an issue or find what we need to do, and I'm making a revision, and I'm very picky. I'm a picky bitch. I want to make sure everything's perfect. I want tight V's everywhere. And you can have too tight of a V. So which this, if we put this any tighter of a V, we could run into binding. And you notice that because you would see, instead of this accelerating, you'd see it kind of nose down and then go to the next gear. And it kind of gives like a push-pull feel. And some people confuse that and think that that's a good shift. That's not. That's bindage. That's usually too much pressure, too much oncoming, too much something, too short of a shift time. That's an issue. You want to back that off because that is literally grabbing the other clutch at the same time, and it noses the car down a little bit, and it's tearing clutches apart. But ask questions. That's what we're here for. I did this channel, so you can ask questions that you could normally never ask. How do you get the tight V, LOL, and is it the same way on a 4, 6, 8, and 10? It is the same way on a 6, 8, 10. It's not the same on a 4. And all of it starts with a proper torque rating. Everything to make this trans work. Like I could send you the baddest, I could send you the trans tune out of this car, which I think is a very good file. And you could put this on a DD engine file and it will not shift like this because everything in the background has to make sense. Everything has to make sense and match for the trans to do what it's supposed to do because, this is all a big working together thing. Let's see, can't wait to get all those tight little V's in my truck. That could backfire. Careful saying that. Hope you're not married. I have an issue when I roll into the throttle at 60 and I get a slight dip in the high side fuel pressure for like 0.5 to 1 second, and then the high side fuel pressure is normal. What should I look for in my tune? Low side is good. I'd need a log. And like I said, we might do more of these if you guys like this style instead of just the Q&A. Let me know that this is what you guys want to see. Because I wasn't totally down for like sharing all this, but after seeing how many people have called me and asked and are actually asking questions now, I think it's working. I think it's a good idea, but I don't know. All right, let me get to this other one real quick. All right, so we've understood this. We went through that other one. Let me pull up this one. This is an interesting one, and I kind of like it. So this guy, he's got a truck, and he does tractor pulls. Talked to him on the phone. Super cool guy. Sent me videos. I think it's awesome. He tuned his own truck. I think he did a pretty decent job. We're just going to look over the basics, right? It's just a cam 5.3. Going right open. All right. So right here, we're pedal. Now here's one thing. You see our purple is our foot and our green is our throttle. You see how we have this delay, right? That's mostly on trucks because they don't want it to just jerk. But you can work this out and get it a lot more responsive. But if you notice the green and the white, so the white is his actual AFR and the green is the commanded AFR, air fuel ratio, for those that don't know. And look, he's pretty tight on there. Makes a shift. He's got a decent V. Ain't mad at it. That's a pretty good shift, especially for being a 1-2 shift. Quick shift time, rolls through the next one. We're pretty on target. And we're a little rich up top, but here nor there. Now this one, you see, we're pulling good. Boom. Straight shifts through. Nice and clean. We don't have a V at all. Now, let me pull this file up so I can explain that. No, we don't want to change it. Go back. This one. All right. We're going to go back to our famous table. All right. See, he let it pull the timing. Right here, it can pull negative timing, no problem. And I go over here because obviously this is the RPM range, and then we're around here in the gram per second. You get the point. So he's allowing it to pull the timing, and it doesn't. Why does it not pull the timing? He's not logging enough transmission shit for me to show you, but basically the handoff is clean, right? The clutch handoff is clean. It doesn't need to pull timing. You can let it pull the timing if it needs it. It only pulls it if it needs it. Right here, I'd say this is probably a little too tight of a shift. I hate to try to even not discondone that because it's not what I mean. I just think that like this over time will soften and you'll get a little V in here. Right here, we're a little heavy on the pull, but again, this is 1-2 shift. This has got tire spin in it. It's got, you can see it right here, a little bit of chopping. I may not agree with 31.5 degrees of timing, but I will tell you that he hasn't blown it up. So for all those people that are like, oh, 31 degrees, way too much. Obviously not. This dude pulls like loaded sleds through the dirt for a long way and just bounces that shit off the limiter, and he hadn't blown it up. That's impressive. But again, so we see we're following the same trend. He's pretty spot on. Nice tight V on the shift. Good to go. So one thing I would say, this is so the green here, and I know this isn't something that you have, but I will get this on the website at some point. The green here is like it's ideal pulse width. So basically how much time you have to inject the fuel. And this is like a line in my book when I'm looking at it. So I have these couple indicators. I'll go through it real quick. So DI max. This is the maximum amount of DI that you have. This is just the math that I have in the background. Once you go over 100, you're outside of it. So he's outside of it. Right here, he's way outside of it. We're 5.3, where we should only be 4.9 on this truck. And typically, you can usually see it becomes a problem. On NA, it's not as bad. But you'll usually see when your desired rail pressure and your actual fuel rail pressure starts dropping. But he's not logging enough in here for us to go through all that. But like I said, overall, he can clean this up a little bit. This will definitely bring him a little bit more power. The trans, I think, is good. One thing he had sent me, and I don't have it here, is he has a log of it hitting the limiter. And basically, he sits on the limiter. So it'll go boom, 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 and it hits. One thing I had suggested to him, you can go through here and go to your cutoff. And it's at 50 now. Okay, he changed it. Because I remember it was at 250. Factory, it's usually 250. And that means that once it hits this limiter, it has to go down 250 RPM before it gives the power back. And it was using the throttle to control. It was working really well. But yeah, if you drop that to 50, then you go 69.50 to 69, 69.50 to 69. It's more of like a two-step, and it'll keep that power a little steadier. If we want to judge them, we can go through here. You see he was trying to make sure that it didn't over-rev. This is not the greatest thing to do, but this is like a, hey, I want to make sure that thing doesn't overextend. So I'm not mad at this. I've done this on like some ZR1s and stuff just to try to get them to stop. Because once it starts overrunning the limiter, it's really hard to slow it down. But then we see he did all the timing here. And this is factory, but he would be around this line or this line, one of these two. So not really a lot of modification. I would have definitely put some of this over there and kind of blended this. But realistically, this truck is NA. It's going to live in this area. It's going to run that timing. That's just all there is to it. Maybe add a couple little things, you know, like he did here, where it's pulling timing if it gets hot. That way, when he's sitting there banging the limiter, it's pulling it down. I'd get rid of this. Again, we talked about that. I'd get rid of that. But overall, again, another pretty well executed file. I think he did a pretty damn good job. I think he could clean it up, and we talked on the phone about it. He gets it. I get it. We're all good. So I think that's pretty much it. I told you this is supposed to be a short live, but I wanted you guys to see some of the common issues and how this works, and kind of what to look for, right? Just indicators of, hey, is my tuner slacking? You know, could it be better? You pay a lot of money. These tunes are not cheap. You know, I know my tuning's not cheap, but know that I know what I know, and what I don't know, I'll ask, right? All tuners should be that way. If they don't know, they should ask. They should never act like they know. All right, let's go ahead and pull this out of here. And that's all I have for those. Back to my ugly face with my terrible hair. I got to get a haircut. All right, I'll do a little bit of Q&A, and then, you know, I got to go. Back for this one. If you have a log, we can look at. If you send it over. So I changed the email for reviews. So like if you're watching this and you're like, hey man, I just want to see if you'll take a peek at my log and, you know, my tune, and just give me an honest opinion. And again, you see this guy, that other guy, and this guy have tuned their own. And this guy asked me, he goes, should I pay you for a tune? And I said, honestly, I don't think so. I think I could gain you something, but I don't think I could gain enough. And the same thing with that 2020 Camaro. You know, I think I could gain in fixing his trans, but his engine side is pretty damn close. Like he's got a good, you know, a good handling on it. And if he's that close, I'm just going to tell you, like, you know, it's not worth it, because that's not a cheap tune. right? And I don't think I can justify that amount of money for him. So I'll just tell you. So if you do, that email is JWTReviews, REVIEWS at Gmail. Send over tune, log, whatever. I'll check it out. I'll tell you what I think. I don't charge anybody for it because, honestly, we all kind of learn together. So if you have that and you send it to JWTReviews at gmail.com, I'll check it out. If you're watching this, even later, we'll do that. All right. I know you said you run the Toyo RRs. Is that just for rolls, that tire versus MT Street SS for a quarter mile? I have run the MT, the Street. No, I ran the, I ran the Street SS at the track. I've been 840s on, man, I don't want to say it wrong. I think I had, I don't remember. It was an 18. It wasn't the Toyo. It was either an ET Street R or the ET Street SS. It was definitely one of those. But typically I only run the 18s for the roll race, stuff like that. I have since switched to 15s for the track only because that more sidewall definitely gives you better bite. But as some of you know, not all of you know, I am going Motec finally. It will be at Wayne's in like a week or so, and then we'll get a lot of content on that too. But I shouldn't technically have to worry about traction at all anymore. We should be able to do some launching in the rain videos, so we'll do that too. He says, I feel like I ask too much sometimes. I'm over freak out about everything. It's fine, man. Like I said, I'm here to try to give the information. If I don't have time to answer, I'll just tell you I don't have time to answer, honestly. And if you have like a bunch of shit that you really want to talk about, just do the consultation. It's not expensive. And everybody that's done the consultation has been pretty happy with it from what I can tell. And they've all actually saved a lot of money, not buying the wrong shit. So there's a benefit there. First time here, I'd love to have a review at some point. Yeah, so like I said, send it to JWTReviews at Gmail. And if everybody's liking this, we'll keep doing this. I like the Q&A because it kind of gives us the time to relate and talk. But I want to kind of go through this and help everybody kind of learn as well. And like I said, if a couple of my customers can find some weird shit like this in theirs, hit me up and let me know, because, some of this years back, I did do some of these mistakes and I learned from it. Not as bad as these are, but definitely I've done similar things and there's reasons for some of it. So just hit me up if you see any of it and we'll go through it. Like even something as simple as, let me show you real quick. Even something as simple as like this right here, the throttle position sensor, positive, negative. So I used to set this at 96 and 96, right? I was like, get that shit out of the way. I don't want it failing. And then Nick Williams was like, hey, I wouldn't do that. You should probably bring that down. So I started doing 26, right? Talking to Nick like last week, he's like, hey, remember that 26% here is a lot when you're thinking about like a 120 throttle body or like a 112. So now, if you're in my newer files, you're going to have 1.6 and 1.6, right? And this is just like a buffer for the blade to be out of spec and to not throw a code. But like, these are things that are going to adapt with time. Everything in the file that I've done in like 6 months, shit's going to be different every 6 months. Now I try to fill in all the tables, use all the modifiers, do everything correctly. Again, I'm human. Maybe I've, not done so perfect on everything, but at least, it was working and functioning properly at that time. New things come out all the time. We're always updating. I'm always trying to learn. I'm constantly reading every bit of information I can humanly find and try to put in my brain along with running a life. Okay. Awesome. All this info you're putting out there, Chair. Legend. Thank you, man. Like I said, I like it. I like helping people, and I wish there was more people that helped me back in the day. I'd be way further than I was now. OG Boost Lee, do you offer your logging channels layout? Appreciate the donation. Thank you. I will offer the layout and the channels and the maths. You could make the maths yourself using like ChatGPT or Gemini is what I use mostly. The problem is that shit will gaslight the fuck out of you. So you got to know to tell it that it's wrong. And if you don't know, that's really hard. So anyways, I'm going to have them added to the site. I'd already talked to Sophie about it. I got to figure out how to make that work. And then all my silver and gold members will obviously get a half off discount for the channels and layout. I'll probably just do like a Gen 3 or a Gen 4 and a Gen 5 setup because I have one for each. And hopefully it'll help. I used to send it out to customers, but it's so much work. It's like, it takes a long time to build it out like that. So I've got to make something off of it. At some point, I got to make a living. You can beat the hell out of L83s. L84 don't seem to be as resilient for some reason. Oh, because that truck wasn't L83. Yeah, well, you saw that thing was making a lot of boost at 14.7 air fuel, and he said it hadn't blown up yet. He is checking the plugs and all before we tune it because I was like, dude, this thing's so bad. And maybe old DD will give him a fucking refund for fucking his truck up, but who knows? Probably tell him how mean I am. Going to send it over for sure. Okay. If you're sending it over before we're done with this, I can go. I'll pull it up over here and we can go through it real quick. All right. Also, if I unhook the battery in a C7 for more than 10 minutes, do I have to go back to the trans relearn? No. So you don't have to. Sometimes it'll reset the adapt. Sometimes it won't. But it is good to do that. If you're just cruising in your C7, right? Anything with an 8-speed is very, very big on this. In the members video, it shows you how to do it. Do that for any shift that feels soft and just go through it a couple times and it will tighten that shift back up. And if it doesn't, call your tuner because that needs to be fixed. These are tricks learned from years of experience and you're doing it for free. It's much appreciated. I mean, it's not totally for free. I do, the members help pay for this. And so anybody that is a member, I greatly appreciate it. All of you guys should thank the members or become a member. The members are the reason. If we didn't have so many people starting to sign up for membership, I probably wouldn't have done this. But you guys have shown me that you're interested in this and that, we do make a little money off of it. So by all means, I feel like I owe you and I want to make sure that I give back. So hopefully you're learning from this and we're all learning a little bit. And look, I'm hoping that one day some tuner comes on here and he's like, oh, you said this and this is wrong. And I will add them in here and let's have a discussion because then we can both see two different points of view, right? Because like everything I know is just off of my experience and what I've seen. And everybody has different experiences. What would cause a weird jump when revving on a stroker with 2650 Gen 4? Any common problems? That's too picky. You'd have to give me a log so I could see it. As the beautiful Wendy says, make sure to like our video, share it, subscribe, send this out, tell people about it. Hey man, I know you said your car's doing some weird shit. Go watch Justin's video, see if any of this shit's in your tune, get it fixed. You're friends with a DD guy. I'd be willing to bet money that you're going to find this shit in every single one of the tunes because it's in every one of the tunes. Save them a vehicle. Save them running into somebody. Blanca, thank you again, man. Appreciate it. Let me see something real quick. Hold tight. All right. All right. Blanca, if you do send that log, let me know in here. That way I can go check for it. We do have a couple new reviews in there, so we'll save that for next week. Next week, we'll do another one of the reviews because you guys are liking it. And please, like I said, go share this on Facebook, Instagram, share it around so people can see it. And then again, like I said, if I'm wrong, somebody can see it and correct me. Are there any issues when tuning 120 versus 103? Thanks again for answering. No. So the only thing about the 120, it's real weird, is, how do I explain it the best way? So throttle bodies are tuned in sonic airflow, right? So basically the curve is kind of like this, and then, right? And what this is when if you look in the throttle body, you have like that little area, and that's where the blade is doing idle and it's moving, right? And then once it gets off that ledge, the airflow is exponential, sonic airflow. I'm sure I sound like an idiot to somebody that actually knows, but you get the idea. The 120 is just a little more sensitive, and it seems like that idle area you need to get that throttle blade a lot closer, like under 16%. Just hint. Under 16%. If you can get your blade idle under 16% on a 120, it will drive super great. Mr. Hurd, appreciate it. Hopefully it has enough fuel. What's up, YFT? If you don't follow YFT, make sure you go follow him. My boy Yaz up in PA, freezing his balls off. It's an A6. Forgot to put that in there. Yeah, A6. I said it seems like the 6 and the 10s are really close. Like they follow the same logic and the same thinking. The 8-speed's a bastard. The 8-speed's the only one that, and I say this, and I'm not telling you to do this. I'm telling you, you make your own fucking decisions. The 8-speed does better without torque management. But, a big but, if the engine side's wrong, you will lose that transmission immediately. But if the engine side's right, I just put over 7,000 miles on my trans, and you can look on Circle D's website. They tore it down, and it looked perfect. Actually, no, I tore the first one down after 7,000. And other than one of the clutches actually like delaminating, everything looked perfect in it. And that's 7,000 hard miles. So keep that in mind. As Wendy said, we do truly appreciate the members. You know, you guys have made this possible for everybody to get this information, and I'm just happy to be doing this, honestly. Yeah, DD, the piston melter 5000. Tanner's actually the guy that helped us figure out how to fix the 3-1 downshift in an 8-speed. If you have an 8-speed and you have that clunk, no, mine's unlocked and I've still never fixed it. I will when I go to tune it live with you guys when with the blower on it and the new motor. JWT is the man for tuning, whether it be all stock or built. The bomb needs some love when it's time to turn up. Okay, so y'all seen this comment on the last one, maybe. Basically, he's got like a stock LS3 with a shit ton of boost. And he asked me about tuning it, and I was like, bro, that's kind of a bomb. And then he decided that they were going to figure it out, and apparently they haven't blown it up. Very impressive. Very impressive. I'll give you tips, but I don't think I want to be part of it. Like I appreciate you helping us develop the 6-speed or 8-speed downshift thing, though. So I definitely give you some tips. All right, Blanca sent it in. Let me go grab it real quick. You might not have enough data on it. Oh, my email's kind of slow, I guess. It's not in there, so I'm going to keep rolling through real quick, and we'll go back. Plan on upgrading memberships to the $50 a month one. What's the benefits? Okay, so the way the membership works is I think we have the bronze. I don't know the prices, so I don't want to say, but I think that's the gold. The bronze is just like you helping a brother out. We appreciate it. You know, it's not all about the dollar amount. You know, anything helps. Silver is where you start getting the membership videos, which will be more in-depth technical stuff. Again, I went way off the deep end. I was starting way too technical, so I'm going to start making like some smaller ones to kind of get, you'll see, it's coming. Gold is where if like you're tuning it yourself or you're a shop that's tuning and, you know, I had a customer in Australia, had an issue with a Camaro, sent me the file. He's a gold member. I went through it. I found the issue. Quick correction, sent it back to him, fixed it. And he's like, oh, shit, you fixed that? I'm like, yeah, that's part of the thing. So that's the gold membership. It's more like a one-on-one for people that really just kind of need help. But, you know, I'm not going to tune it for you. But, like, I'll help you get through these issues so you're not struggling, right? And that's worth its weight in gold there. And then I think we have a platinum, which is like, if you just got fuck you money and you want to give it away and you appreciate our content, by all means, that would be super cool. And then something we're going to add is, you know, for the gold and silver and platinum for sure, we're going to randomly send shirts to people too. Like Wendy already started last time. We want to kind of like randomly send merch and, you know, help you guys promote with us and support us, and we support you. So I hope that explains that. Here, keep up the work. You too, man. I seen you've been getting a lot. Oh, shit. Thanks, Justin. Hope to have you look at my tune once I get the data log from my recent KTEC 2650, 112 FI energy. Oh, yeah. Gabe said that you were supposed to be sending that over. I didn't see it, but he said you were. Definitely appreciate that, though. Wow. That's got to be the most I think we've ever seen. Thank you. We'll get on that as soon as you send it through. How do the solar throttle bodies impact that? I know they don't have the ledge. Okay, yeah. So solar throttle bodies, you can get them okay, but they're never going to be a Nick Williams. Like, they're just not. And you're paying a fraction of the price. If you do have a solar and we're tuning it, I'm going to bitch at you. Like, just be ready. Luckily, we have enough tables now. I'll pop that up real quick. Now, if we're tuning a shitty solar, we have more tables now. So we have this added right here, and then this one, which is like, this is your sonic airflow. Actually, I'm going to show you real quick. This is it. So this is your idle area right here, right? And that's that ledge, right? And then at some point, like, you're still flowing enough here. That's up top. If you do adjust this table, be very, very, very careful. If you don't know what you're doing, do not touch this table, because you will fucking wreck your car. Don't touch that if you don't know what you're doing. But that will help us dial in the throttle tables for solar garbage. It's still never going to be right. Don't buy solar. And if solar fixes that and wants to fucking correct me, let me know. But I have yet to see a solar throttle body that looks like it's actually right. Are there only 6-member videos right now? Yes. Remember that I was never a consumer, right? So, like, I don't know what you guys want, and nobody really tells me. So I'm trying to make videos that are things that I'm like, oh, that's really an issue. Let me fix that. Now I'm going to do more videos of like, you know, how this table works and why you would use it versus why you would use these modifiers. I'm going to start doing little things like that kind of help paint the picture, because I think fundamentals are going to be the thing. But I don't want to be a teacher. I'm not a teacher. I'm not good at teaching. I'm not a patient person. So if you have an idea for a member video or something that you really want to know and you're on the membership level, reach out and let me know. And, you know, chances are, if you tell me, hey, I'd really like to see a video on this, I will make it. Right now, I'm just making videos that I think are something that's important. Like when you have a tire pressure monitor light and you can't turn the stability track off in your VET or your V3. Jay Chilton, yeah, you are, and I appreciate that. We watch, for sure. I saw where Matt Sanford turned the throttle response up on that V. He is tuning for Cletus. What could be the way he did that? I know how he did that, but again, that's not something that you really want to mess with as a beginner, because that can run into, he understands what he's doing very well. He's very educated. So that's not something you really want to mess with. You can go up real slow, like 2-3% at a time in your driver demand, and try to get that. Just don't overdo it. I've had nothing but problems with solar. Took that crap off and put back to OEM. Yeah, not worth the headache. Haven't sold it because I don't want to get blamed for the issues. You're like me, man. I don't like to sell shit. I just smash it and throw it away. Okay, so the injection time video is the one I filmed 3 times. I think it's just too in-depth of a topic. I really do. I think that the more I thought about it and the more I wanted to do it, it was too in-depth, and I don't think we're there yet. I can't break it down simple enough. I'm not saying you're simple or anything. I'm just saying I can't get it simple enough. Let me see. Okay. One second. I'm not seeing the that log. I was trying to get that log, you know, check it out for you, Blanca, before we do sign off. Make sure that you send it. I'm going to put it in here. Because I'm not seeing it. There. That would be the email to send it to. Plug my charger back up. Who is the mystery tuner? It's not a mystery. It's Derek Dunbar. In case you were curious. We're not scared to say it. You know, he does like to threaten lawsuits, but nothing we're saying is wrong, and nobody's argued with it because it's a fact. All right. He's just gonna text you that personally and get the injection video. If you're a gold member and you have questions, I will answer you. All right, let me know if you sent that, and we'll go through that real quick. I think that's all right. Anyways, so here we go. Was watching some old videos of your C7. I want to get to that level, but I plan on using a Sentry blower. Do you have a build breakdown video on your setup? I don't, but I was going to do one. I haven't done it yet. I had actually talked to Wendy about it. If you go back far enough, I did a Sentry build first. So I had, I think I had a pre-performance cam at the time, GPI drop-in rods and pistons with a better rod. I don't use Comstar shit. So I did the Ultra H-beam. Car made like 950, spinning a V3 Ti as hard as humanly possible. Went like 4.5, 60 to 130, 880s in the quarter. My car is very simple. The only thing that really changed is we put the BTR1 cam and we put a 2650. And the car's been at 840 at like 162 and as fast as with 150 shot or 125 shot, 330, 60 to 130. Hoping to go a little better now with the Motec, but the Bomb and I will be there this weekend to next if you want to grab lunch and check it out. I definitely want to see it because I'm surprised it's alive. Can we add 100% timing to the V2? I don't know if you've checked, but you've got quite a bit of timing in that already. We should probably, chill there. All right. Okay, here we go. So I did have it. Blanca, sorry. Let's go over here. All right, so we're going to pull up your file first. All right, so we're running the Atlas on it. All right, where are we at? All right, so let me go back to where he said that the issue was. Where are we at? Where are we at? I wish I could just sort this by, people. I have an issue when I roll into the throttle at 60. I get a slight dip in the high pressure for 0.5 and the high side for pressure isn't normal. Okay. But you have an Atlas, and that's why. So it's very controversial, but I'll go over it anyways. So basically, the problem is, I'm going to explain this in a very simple way. Injection window. This you want to know about the injection stuff. So basically, the way the injection works, and let's just try to put it simple, is 360 degrees is when the piston is at the top, 180 is at the bottom, right? Pretty simple. You don't want to spray fuel directly on the piston because if you do, it just goes straight to the walls, washes the walls, things like that. The other issue is you basically just kill that high pressure pump, opening that nozzle so much down low that it just drops the rail. So what you can look at in your log here, and you can see it right here, your high pressure pump, right? 130 is the max you can run that pump. Like that's the most you can put. Right here, you max that pump out. Okay. So if you look at your high side, let's see, and obviously our DI max is 99. All right, desired rail is 3,000. But as you're coming up on the edge of that pump, this is your ideal versus your actual. You see we start crashing out. And it's a little delayed here, but you see it dips right here. And then what the Atlas is doing is it actually sees that. If you had a stock cam, that would be 10 times worse. But it sees that, and then it adds the extra port to kind of make up for it. I believe that kind of hurts the low end. They argue that it doesn't. Who's right? It doesn't. That's for you to decide. But that's my issue with locking that window. So basically, when you do that, you see your start of injection becomes a straight line, right? But it's a straight line from back here. The reason that you can spray 360, 370 at 6,000 RPM and not be spraying that piston is because at 6,000 RPM, the piston speed is so high that basically by the time that nozzle opens to spray that 360, the piston's already moving away. It's so fastly moving away. Down here, it's not. So you're basically right on that piston, washing the walls off. So typically this would be like a 300. You'd be a little less down here. You'd be spraying right as the piston's coming down. And that's why DI does so good in the bottom end, is as that piston's coming down, it's drawing that air in, that spray is hitting it, and it's perfectly timed with the intake track, and it's cooling the charge. Right here, your exhaust valve is probably still open. It's spraying out of the exhaust. It's spraying on the walls. You know, you probably get like a little bit of sooting out the back of the car. That's what's happening. It does recover because with speed, your pump can handle more. So you'll see that 130 comes here. You see how it starts coming down, right? And your high pressure pump starts tapering. But then when you shift, you're going right back at it, okay? It's obviously RPM dependent. Let me show you in the file. And like I said, this does work. So don't misunderstand me. You know, the way the Atlas works, it does function how it's intended. And, you know, for most people, this is perfectly fine. Again, I'm a picky bitch. So I try to, you know, I'd rather have control of it. And that's why we run the Reflex and, you know, now going to the Motec. Let's see. I'm going to try to find the 06. All right. So this is your injection window. I don't know if you tuned this yourself or not, but this isn't altered and it should have been. So right here, they're locking the window to 180. Typically, factory, you have 350 degrees of angle to spray. And then basically when you're up here, right, in that lower RPM range, say the 4,000, you see we're like 300. And then we start chasing the piston, right? The piston's going faster. We can spray closer to it. That's why this ramps like this. So typically when you do the Atlas, what they'll do is they'll go back all the way to like here, and they'll make this all 360. What the hell? Sorry. They'll make this all 360 and then lock that window here to 180, right? And then what that does is that that starts at 360 when the piston's at the top, and it ends at 180 when the piston's at the bottom. Again, in my opinion, I don't think it's ideal, but it does function, it does work, and it does get you majority of what you can get out of the injector. But it does also disables the E92 fueling right here. So typically when that dip happens, this dip, you would see the injector kind of pick up to like take over. The injector doesn't pick up to take over right here because, you know, it's dead. It once it hits that wall, that 25%, it stops. We can get, and again, this is just my opinion, we can get this to about 30% before we start running into an issue on most vehicles. And I believe that's due to like a latency deal. But, you know, outside of that, that's where your issue is. So, and you're not seeing it as bad right now because you're at 4,700, but earlier you would definitely see it. The one downside is that because your injection window is stock, you're going to dip, well, oh, because you're on E. Yeah, so it added it to the 360. But typically on like pump gas, this is going to go under 180 because that number's lower, and it's going to have a lot of sooting. So hopefully that answered the question that you were going for. And then if you want, we can go through the rest of the tune later. But again, I don't know if this is your tune or somebody else did it, or, you know, but remember also, if you're looking at this, you have this window. But remember there's modifiers for this too. So there's ECT offset, which is this number. And then you have an offset multiplier. You have alcohol offset. And then you have an alcohol offset multiplier. So like all of this is going to factor in. So like this isn't the end all be all, but usually they'll set that all at 360 and then zero all these out. And that way it stays 360 to 180. All right. Yes, it's mine. Hopefully not a DD style. Should we look? Should we check? You say the word and we'll go check the rest of it. And then if not, we'll sign off. In all seriousness, thank you for spreading the information and putting up with us rascals. Thank y'all for even tuning in. I mean, I'm sure y'all have better things to do on a Wednesday, but all right, Blanca said we're going to check it. So this is, let's make sure that we got a matching file. Segment. All right, so this is a matching stock file. That way we can kind of see, this is just an updated number off that. So we can see. All right, so we've obviously got a little bit of cam, no touch there. Did we scale it? No. All right, so if you're tuning this, fix that so you can get more resolution here. Just like I said earlier in the video. Do we have a cam in this? Here we go. If we have a cam, this isn't right. No cam. Okay, good. Then why'd you touch this? Because if you didn't change the cam, you didn't change the VE. There's some work you can do here too, for sure. A lot of work there. That'll be a long time before we talk about that. There too. You know, the good thing is not touching things that you're not supposed to touch. Great idea. That's another issue a lot of these tuners have is they'll touch a bunch of stuff that they didn't even need to touch. One thing I will say, yes, you can run this air fuel on a DI vehicle. At this point, you are no longer a DI vehicle. So this is not what I would run at all. Let's see if you're actually hitting. Yeah. So 85, 88, like it's working for now. But if you actually check your plugs, this thing is, well, let me see if you even have enough. Yeah, if you check your plugs, you're going to realize that you'll make less power here than you would at like 1.2, 1.23. So I would definitely play with a little more fuel, and you could even drag it and see that there is a difference. I would utilize this as well to kind of keep everything cooled down because you're going to make a lot of cylinder pressure with that stock cam. Don't get me wrong, stock cam, I've got a lot of cars on stock cam that have been in the 8s. They'll make 950 on a stock cam, but like you're pushing it really hard. So you need to make sure that you're keeping it cooled off. Let's see. All right. We did a burble tune, huh? Got to do it here too. See, at least, you know, we're fading down. What are we at? 1.7, 1.8, 2.0, so 1.7, 1.8. And the good thing is if it gets cold outside and you pick up a little bit of boost, you lose a little bit of the timing. Well done. Better than 90% of the actual tuners, which is crazy. Flex fuel, definitely a lot hotter down low. You don't have to use that one if you don't want to, but and you already built it out in your table, so we're down low here. Yeah. Okay, so all our modifiers are working. 30, 50, that's not bad because you're not adding a whole bunch here. Let's see. Look at that. Damn. You did that before you sent it, huh? All right, so do you have a stock bypass valve on here? Okay, just curious. All the rest of this looks pretty solid. Not bad. I usually don't mess with these, but it's not a big issue. No, it's not bad. Pull that out. You're going to want to take that out too. So, all right, so stock bypass. So something, I made a video on it, but I'll go back and I'll show you real quick. Or maybe you watched the video and you added this. Again, stock cam, stock torque model. Learn the IET from last minute. There we go. So it's working. All right, so let me see. I'll see if you watch all the videos. Nope. All right, so right here. So what I would do on this, this is a factory table, and I'm not really sure why. I've talked about this a little bit, but I don't know why they don't use this. But this will take your manifold air temp, and let's just say 175 to like 215. blend it, because pulling timing is good, right? But if you still have the boost there and you pull a bunch of timing, the problem is you're still gonna melt shit. Okay, so what you can do with this, with the factory bypass, leave that one at 3, put this at like 1.5, 1.8, right? This right here will cut the boost back, or it'll close the throttle body. And that way, when your IATs are going 175, 180, 190, instead of just melting the motor by jerking all the timing out and just, superheating the cylinder, right here, it can pull the throttle blade closed, or it can pull the boost out of the car, or something like that to save it. There's also tables where, super simple. I actually kind of just started using it, and I don't use it on every car, but a lot of them, you can do it here too, right? So if you think of that same thing, like go to this table here, put 75 in it, okay? And then right here, make it like, I'm just going to mess your whole table up here, but like 1.23. Try that again. All right, and then blend it up. And that way, when you start getting in there, right, and you start getting into that spot where it's pulling the boost down, it's pulling the timing, but this thing's getting really hot. Like 180, 200, like you're getting hot. This will add some extra fuel and try to cool the cylinder down. So these are just a couple little tips and tricks that we use. Again, I don't do it on every car, but I do, I have been adding little stupid things like this because when I added this table, the amount of people that called me and said, hey, for some reason my car's not pulling. There were so many. I was just like, damn, what was happening when I wasn't doing this and nobody was telling me? So just a little tidbit if you want to do that. Outside of that, everything else looks pretty solid. You've definitely taken a course or something and went over this. I think you might have went a little extra on this, but maybe not. That number, because Nick said so. All right, so we're doing wide open shift. Ain't no way you're using first gear in that car. Ain't no way. Evans Academy. Yep. I think Evans Academy's got to be one of the best ones. I don't know them. I've never been affiliated or talked to them, but I have taken it. That's acceptable. Yeah, you can definitely tell, which is kind of cool. Overall, man, I think it's good. I really do. I think it's executed well. You could probably save some of that dipping and some of that pump drop off by softening this down here. That way you're not running the pump to the edge, because the injection window is going to be locked anyways. Like, it's not going to give you any more fuel anyways. And then you can bring this up with that if you need that to come up, and that. Outside of that, overall, it looks pretty good. Well done. All right, not bad. I think we could do more of these. I think doing it live like this is a little harder because, like, I can't really spend the time with it. But, you kind of get an idea of how I go through them. And then, like I said, next Wednesday we'll do another big one that I'll be prepared. I'll have my individual folders and everything. But outside of that, hopefully that helps you kind of know what's going on, so now you understand. And I do think that the Atlas helps people that are tuning it themselves, because it does make it easier. That's why when we charge, we do, we charge less when it is an Atlas, because it is less work. Yeah, damn, I'm not a DD piston melter. Not bad. I mean, if you watch some of these videos, like literally all of the worst examples, I'm able to find all of the issues off of his files. So it's kind of good that he's there to show us what not to do. But yeah, no problem, man. I appreciate that. I think with that, we're going to wrap it up. Again, thank you, everybody that's a member. Thank you, everybody that's kind of subscribed and is on for this journey. We're going to do a lot more. We're going to bring out more info. As I've said and I've shown, I got a couple. We're going to do smaller videos first, I think, in the membership, so it's not too complex, because there's a lot to that injection window. And even me reading the video back, I'm like, there's no fucking way this is going to make sense, because I'm not a good teacher. I never said I was. But anyways, I'll see you guys on Wednesday. So make sure to share, subscribe, tell people, send the video to people. Be like, hey, your shit sucks. Check this out. And we'll go from there. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday.